Hey everyone, Dan Heilman here, and this is going to be another Path of Exile video. Today is going to be a beginner's guide. I'm going to try to touch on every single topic in the game, but not go into great detail on any of them. So this may be a long video, but this is a great place to start if you are just starting the game and you have no idea what's going on. So I will try to touch on all the topics. All right, let's begin. The very first, most important thing in the entire game is to pick out a build before you start and look through some of them, see what looks fun, because once you get into the game here, if I show you the talent tree here, it is very difficult to go back and remove these talents. It's very expensive. So you want to know what you're doing in the beginning. And if you find a build guide, it's going to walk you through every talent and what order to get them and how to do all that. So you're definitely going to want to do that first. There's two methods to do that. Just go to YouTube and search starter guides. So if I just search like all ultimatum starter builds. The reason why you want starter builds is because they don't require a lot of currency. They're easy to play for newcomers. So pick out some of these. 3.14 starter league, blah, blah, blah. Another way to do it is to go to POE.ninja and you can go to builds. And here you can see, if you look right here on the left, you see main skills. You see what is the most common right now. Most people are using Blade Blast, Cyclone, or Burning Arrow. So if you want, what you can do is say I'm doing a totem build, right? So I'm doing an arc totem build. So I bet there's not a lot of people doing it. So all I have to do is I go down here, I choose arc, and then specifically I go down to this main skill mode, and I'm going to choose totem. I'm going to choose totem. So now if I want to say, all right, look at all these people. This guy's got 1.3 million damage. So cool. I'm going to click him. Shows me all the gear he's using. I can look at everything and I can look at how he's built. So this is a great tool if you don't know what you want or you know what skill you want and you want to see how other people are doing it. So begin there. So there's a couple types of builds. You have bow builds, you have melee builds, you have spell builds, totem builds, and minion builds. And each one uses different skills to kill enemies. So that's the basics for that. The second most important thing, I think, is to get a loot filter going. So I have a whole nother video on that. So if you want, go ahead and look up in the top right corner and go over there and set up a loot filter. The reason why I think that is one of the most important things is that shows you what to pick up and what not to pick up. So I won't spend too much time on that. Go check out that video real quick and get a loot filter going because that's going to help you. Now, let me show you the different leagues and what's going on here. So if I log in, you have all these different leagues and I'll kind of show you what they mean. Standard is basically all of the leagues when they're done. Every league in this game is roughly 3 months. So you have hardcore and standard. Hardcore means when you die, you can't play on that league anymore. You get moved to standard league. SSF stands for solo self-found. That means that you cannot interact with other players. You can't get in a group with them. You can't trade with them. So you're on your own and you have to find all your gear and you have to do everything solo. So then they have these leagues. Now we have ultimatum leagues. You're always going to want to play in the leagues unless you really are mad that all your stuff is gone at the end of the league. It's not really gone. It just moves to the other league, but all the new content goes to the new league, so you want to play there. So you can see after every league, your character moves over to the standard league. So people in standard have a lot of currency. So if that's your thing, you can absolutely just play in standard. You just won't get new content until the patch after it's released. So once the next league goes, then you'll get the last league's mechanics. So just keep that in mind. So in hardcore, I mentioned that when you die, you're done. You can't play that character in that league anymore. For standard, when you die, you lose 10% of your experience. And that may not sound like a lot, but once you get to level 92, 100 is the max level, the experience starts slowing down a lot. And if you die when you're like level 98, for example, that could be days worth of experience. So keep that in mind. Now let's move on to talk about classes. So if I go to ultimatum and I just want to create someone, I'll just show you. So you click right here if you want to do solo self found, but make sure you're clicked on the right league here. Sometimes it will click this one by default. So just go to ultimatum if you're trying to play ultimatum. Hit OK. And here is the different classes. You got Templar, you got Shadow, you got Marauder, you got Scion, you got Ranger, you got Duelist, and you have Witch. So each one of these classes can use any abilities. The only thing that you can't do is once you go to an ascendancy, so once you go through, you clear this thing called the lab, and you get to choose an ascendancy. So let me just go back and show you what an ascendancy looks like. So when you do ascend, you'll get this extra talent tree right here that you can choose these different talents, and these are specific to your class. So this is the only thing that's specific to your class besides the starting point. Scion starts in the middle, Shadow starts here, Witch starts here, Templar starts here, Marauder starts here, Duelist starts here, and Ranger starts over here. All right, so you got the game going, you created your character, you pick your starter build, you have your loot filter running. Now, simply, how do I move? How do I run around? How do I navigate the game? So that's next. So by default, you have your default attack here on left click. So if you want to move, you just left click. If you want, you can always assign move only to another key. I use W personally just because I like being able to run around with W and then use my right click. Another thing you can do here for movement is you can click on the ability and then say always attack without moving. This means your guy won't move. He will just do whatever attack or use whatever skill he wants right in place. Now, another thing is waypoints in this game. You get waypoints by finding this little location on the map here. So you'll begin here in Act 1. You'll start in this area here, the Twilight Strand. There's no waypoint there. That's what this dark circle means with no blue in the middle. And then you get to town, you'll grab the first waypoint in town, and then once you get here, you have to find this location on the map and click it, and then now you have that waypoint. So then you can go back to that at any time. So you can see right here, this area, the climb, I never picked up the waypoint. That means I was in that zone, I went through the zone, but I never picked up the waypoint. So waypoints are important, grab them, that's how you move around. You just hit U to pull up this, chat. Okay, so if you hit enter, you see your chat options here. You have a guild that you can join. So if you have any friends, get in a guild with them. But what you want to do is, if you want to talk in whatever window here, you can go into local chat. You can turn this local chat is the zone. So if you're in town, it'll be everyone in town. If you're in a zone, it'll be everyone in that zone. If you're in a map, it'll be everyone in that map. So that's what local means. Global means literally the entire game. You can turn it on and off up here too. So if you like people spamming and you want to hear all that, feel free to turn that on. I leave it off. If you're in a party, you can talk in the party. If you want to whisper a player, you can type their name. And each one has you'll notice it has my head's almost in the way, but not quite. You just notice this is @ and then trade is $, and then guild is and sign. So if you don't want to use the dropdown, you can just type and then start typing whatever, and it'll go to your guild chat. So that's useful. If you want to move stuff in and out of your stash instantly, just hold Control and click it, and it'll move it. And if you want to link stuff, you can do Control Alt. So if you want to whisper something to someone, say I want to whisper this item to him, all I do is right click him, or if he's on your friends list, you can do whatever, whisper, and then you hit Control and Alt together, click an item, and then you can whisper something to someone like that. Just hit enter and they'll be able to click it and see all the stats. All right, let's move on to the campaign. So in the campaign, if you hit U, you can see all the acts there. I don't have them all finished right now because this is the beginning of a league. So there's 10. You'll go through and you'll clear all these bosses. And it used to be that you did the same 4 acts twice. But now you just go Act 1 all the way through Act 10. I already went through all the waypoints here. If you do want to make a new instance. So say you're underleveled. Underleveled means, you know, there's a zone level. You see if I highlight over this, that's level 15. So say you're level 10 and you made it all the way there. You may want to farm the zone a couple times to get experience, to get your level up. Or if you're not able to beat some content, you may want to go back and farm some old stuff. All you do is hit control and then click it, and it'll bring up a list here. So let's see if I'm right here. I hit control, you can see new. I click new, and it'll allow me to create a new instance, and you'll see your old instances listed on here. So that's useful if you want to farm something. Like a lot of people like to farm Dried Lake. So if you get there early, there is a loot penalty. If you are above the level, if you are 37, so if you're more than 2 levels above the level of the zone, you do not get as much loot. So just keep that in mind. You do want to stay roughly the same level, but it's okay if you can't. If you can't clear the content, you know, you don't have the gear or the experience to be able to do it quickly, it's okay to go back and farm and try to get some better gear, you know, farm for some currency. So take your time. It's a game. You should enjoy it. So once you complete Act 5, kill the last boss of Act 5, you will take a permanent resistance penalty. So if you hit C, if you hit C, it shows your resistances here. The number on the left is the total resistance you have, and the number in parentheses is like the actual resistance. So once you take a resistance penalty, you'll see that on the left, you'll have a much bigger number than you have on the right side. So you may have, you know, 200 resist over here, but you only have 80 actual resist. And that's because of the resistance penalty. So just keep that in mind. And the max resistance is 75 normally, unless you have something that increases your max resistance. For example, I have 79 here, which normally is not possible. Let's talk about skill points. So in order to get skill points for each one of these, you'll get them through leveling up. So every level, you get a new skill point, and you can get levels from quests. So in order to check your status for quests, you can type /passives, and it will show you right here. So I currently have done all of the quests to give me the passive skills that I have access to so far. So if you see a 0 in one of these, then you know you should go back and do that because you get a spell book. You can just go through all of the campaign very fast. You know, these gold ones here means it's required, and these blue ones here means it's optional. So what I usually do is just smash through all the required quests as fast as I can so I can get all the way to the end game and get to maps quickly, and then sometimes I'll just go back and do these later if I want the rewards from it. Okay, let's move on to gear. I could spend hours talking about gear, but I'm not going to. I'll just show you the basics of gear. I mean, I could spend hours talking about it. So let's just begin. So first of all, there's uniques in this game. So this is what a unique looks like. It has predetermined stats, but it has a range that rolls on each one. So if I hold down Alt, you can see here that for that first one, maximum energy shield, it has a range, then it rolls from 10 all the way to 20, and mine rolled a 16. So that's useful to know. And then there is these rare items that are shown as yellow, and a majority of your items are going to be rare items. So when you have an item, if I hit Alt again, I can see that this one has 2 prefixes and 3 suffixes. So you see the very first one says prefix, the second one says prefix, third one says suffix. So you can only have certain amounts of rolls on each one. So a rare item can only have 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. This is not really important when you're starting, but it'll be important later once you start trying to craft things. So you can see that I added a suffix to this through the crafting bench, which is right here. You can add some things to each of these if they have an open slot. Now, if you already have 6 stats on an item, you cannot add anything to it. So like this one right here, already has 6 stats, so I can't craft anything on it. So also, if you want to look to see what prefixes are available on different items, all you have to do is search POE AFFIX, POE affix, hit enter, And this third one right here, POE DB, you can click on it and say I want to know what stats roll on a strength body armor. You can see right here that these are all the prefixes that roll. These are all the suffixes that roll, unless you have a special base. Now, that's all much advanced for this conversation now, so don't worry about that yet. There's different types of armor here. So you have armor, energy shield, and evasion. So armor is strength-based, evasion is dex-based, and energy shield is intellect-based. So you can see here that this item right here is armor and energy shield based. So the thing that matters the most for is socket color. So green sockets will not roll on this as often as red or blue because of the base type. This one is energy shield based. You can see that because on the very first thing it says energy shield 24. So this one is more likely to roll blue gem slots than green gem slots. You can see here 2 blue and 1 green. This socket color is important, especially when it comes to something like this 5 link here. So say that you needed all blue skills. You don't want to buy a strength armor and then try to get all blue sockets on it. It will be very difficult, and you'll spend lots of chromatic orbs, which is a currency right here, to try to get the right colors. So keep that in mind. You want the base definitely matters if you're trying to craft it yourself. Otherwise, what you can do is, say you just want to buy something. All you have to do is hit POE.trade. These are all third-party apps that are used for this game. Sometimes POE.trade can be a little bit slow, but you can go in here, say I want to buy a wand. So I just click generic one-handed weapon. Or you can actually find wand in here. You can see it here. Again, let's use the chest example. I want a 5 link body armor. So I hit body armor. How many links I want? I want 5 links. Say I need 4 of them to be blue. I can put 4 in that slot. And then I go down to the bottom, hit search. Here you go. 5 linked item, 4 of them are blue. 5 linked item, 4 of them are blue. So this is very powerful. This is how you can buy equipment. And all you do is you whisper them. They'll respond saying, okay. You invite them to a group. You go to their hideout, which is what I'm in right now. And you open trade with them. You put in the currency and they give you the item. So that's trading basics 101. So that's how you'll get gear. If not, you're just going to find it in the world. There is 4 different colors of gear. So in the beginning, let's see if I even have any. So here's a gray item here, or a common it's called. So this is the lowest quality gear. And then you can go up to a blue right here. This is the second quality, and then it goes up to rare, and then it goes to unique. But unique is totally different because all the stats are set in stone in the beginning and you cannot change them. There is also flasks. You can see these down here. I have a Quicksilver flask, a mana flask, and I have a health flask. These you just use 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to use them. Quicksilver flask, you just hit it and it makes you run faster. Mana flask obviously gives you mana, and life flask gives you life. There's a bunch of other unique flasks that do interesting things, but that's beyond the scope of this guide here. Again, no auction house. Use POE.trade if you want to buy things. Another thing that's kind of advanced, but I'll just touch on, is some affixes only work for spells and only work for abilities here. So if you see, I have adds 3 to 59 lightning damage to spells. That only works on spells. So if I highlight over this, you can see the very first thing it shows is spell, comma, chaining, comma, lightning. So for this ability, Arc, anything that affects lightning skills will affect this. Anything that affects spells will affect it. And anything that has anything to do with chain will work on it. So if I pull out this support gem, another thing is you can see this on this little box that pulls up on the left. This says that what it works with. So added lightning damage, it works with Arc. You can see that it has the It has the green check mark there. It works with Frostblink, works with Herald of Ice, works with Herald of Thunder, does not work with Arc Totem. Does not work with Arc Totem? That's what I'm using it for. I hope it works. So yeah, that's how you can see. That surprises me that this doesn't work with. Weird. Now it shows that it does work with Arc Totem. Okay, so it does work. So you can see just by highlighting over it what it works with. So that's useful. So other modifiers that only work, obviously cast speed is only for spells. Attack speed is for attacks. You see increased critical strike chance for spells. Obviously that only works for spells. There is also certain ones like this one right here. Adds 6 to 13 fire damage to attacks. So that only works for attacks. It does not work for spells. So this will not work for arc. So there's a lot of little things like that. With time, you'll begin to learn and pick up some of those. Okay, so I talked briefly about gems, but let me just reiterate that. So you have a different colored socket here. So you can see I have one red socket here. If I need to increase the sockets, I use Jeweler's Orbs. It's applied. I can't do that. So there I go. Now I have 4, which is the max for this. So you can see here that some are linked and some are not. So this red and blue one are linked together, but these 2 red ones are not linked together. So say I want to put something in here, it must be linked if I want to support it with a gem. So say I want to use Flame Totem, put it in the red slot. Say I want to put added lightning damage with it. Now my Flame Totem will have added lightning damage with it. So that's how these work. They must be the same color to put them in. If you want to change the colors, you can use this chromatic orb right here, and it will change all the colors of the sockets. There is one socket that's white that allows you to put any color in it, but white sockets are hard to get. They are basically only after corrupting an item, or certain items have white slots built in. You can also get it from Bestiary League. So that's a whole nother guide. So there's basically 3 types of gems. You have an ability gem, which is just something like this, Arc, that gives you an ability that you're allowed to use. You just, and then you can just choose what you want down here. So if I want to put it on R, all I do is I click it, and then I click whatever I want to use. So this Arc, I'm going to put it right here on R. So that is my Arc Totem. So now if I hit R, it'll drop an Arc Totem. So that's easy. So that's the first type. Second type is support gems. So these support a main skill. So those assist it to give it more damage. And then you have things like curses. So this is conductivity. I use this, and it basically puts a curse on them and makes them take more lightning damage. You can just read the ability here. Curses all targets in an area, lowering their lightning resistance and giving them a chance to be shocked when hit. And then there's a third type, and that is a aura or a herald. Heralds and auras are basically the same thing, except for heralds only help you. Auras help other people. So this is an aura. You can see the very first tag says aura. So this means that anyone in your party and close to you, and also your minions, if you have a minion build, will gain this aura. So they will get mana regen per second. So those are all the types of gems there are. Now let me touch on currency. There is a lot of currency in this game, and this is the stash tab. I have a whole guide on stash tab if you want to check that out. There's millions of different tabs you can get here. Not millions, that was a wild exaggeration, but there's many different types of tabs. You can have quad tabs. In the beginning, you only start with a couple of these regular tabs that you can't customize, so you can't change the name, you can't change the color. But you can set these affinities. That's a little bit more advanced. But yeah, so I do recommend purchasing tabs. I think they help you out a lot in this game, and they're not super expensive to get. Like this currency tab. I mean, if you purchase anything in the game, I think the currency tab is probably the best bang for the buck. Just being able to organize all your currency in here. So let me just go through quickly and show you some of the beginner currencies that are good to use. So Scroll of Wisdom, This is just going to identify something. So when an item first drops, it's unidentified and you can't see what the stats are on it. So if you use this scroll of wisdom, all you do is right click on it and then click on the item. It will identify it so that you can see what it is. The next one right here is the portal scroll, which you can show here. If I click this, it opens up a portal and I can go back to town. That ones are, the two most common in the game. And then after that, you have blacksmith whetstone and armor scrap. They increase the quality. So if you increase the quality of armor, it gives you more armor, evasion, or energy shield, depending on the base. And if you use the blacksmith whetstone on a weapon, it gives quality to the weapon, which increases its damage. This only works for physical, for attacks, not spells. So the quality of your weapon does not matter if you're using a spell build. Let's move on here. Orb of Transmutation. This upgrades a normal item to a magic item. So if I pull one of these out, let me just find a normal item like this. If I use it on here, it makes it a blue item and it gives it 2 stats. Now notice you'll always get 1 prefix and 1 suffix for a blue item. That's how it works. If you want to upgrade this now to a rare, you need a Regal Orb, which is right here. I do not have a Regal Orb yet. So let's go back here. The next one is an Alteration Orb. I guess I should have just left it out. So now a Alteration Orb, if I use this on an item, it just changes what it has on it now. So you can either roll 1 or 2 when you're on a blue item. So people use this for crafting. They will spam these on an item until they get something they really want. And then they'll use a Regal Orb to make it rare. And then they can add other stats by using an Exalted Orb. This one only works on rare items. And it gives it a new random modifier. This currency is extremely rare. And it is worth a lot. When you go to trade things on POE Trade, you will use currency. So you can list it. Most items will be in the beginning. They'll be like 1 or 2 chaos. Chaos is the most commonly used currency for trading until items get very expensive and then they go into Exalted Orbs. I was extremely lucky to pull an Exalted Orb or have one drop this early in the game. Normally that doesn't happen, but let's continue here. Orb of Chance is similar to a Orb of Transmutation, although you have a chance to make a unique item from it. It's a very low chance, 1 in 1,000 or so. But this could also be a rare item. So this is kind of cool, a little bit different. Orb of Alchemy means you can upgrade a normal item, which is a gray item, all the way to a yellow item, which is called a rare item. Those are useful. Chaos Orbs are another currency, and this basically re-rolls all the stats on an item. So, if I were to use it on this, it would delete all the stats and give me 5 or 6 new stats. So that's a Chaos Orb. Jeweler's Orbs. These change the number of sockets in an item. So I already used that on this item to go from 1 socket to 4 sockets. So you guys saw that. Orb of Fusing generates links between these. If you'll notice, it does say higher quality items have a better chance of linking. Chromatic Orb, I already showed that. Changes colors. Orb of Scouring removes everything. So this is a rare item. If I were to use this Scouring on this item, it would remove all the stats and revert it back to a normal item or a gray item. These are usually used in crafting endgame rares, so that's a little bit more advanced. Veil Orb corrupts something unpredictably. This can do a lot of things, good and bad. So be careful with this item. A Regret Orb, this is giving you passive skill refund points. So remember when I said in the beginning that if you say I didn't want to go this way, I actually wanted to go this way, I would have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them to get, or 5 of them to get rid of all these, and then I could move them over here. I couldn't get rid of them until I already did this because it would break the chain, but yeah, those are used for these refund passive points. I have 4 of them here, but that's what that currency is used for. That's all the beginner currency that I'll go through. Of course, there is a lot of advanced crafting you can do with currency, so more on that at a later date. Okay, So I've talked for a while. I've gone through a lot. This is what I think beginners should know right away before starting the game. I will work on getting some more advanced guides at a later time. So look forward to an advanced guide at each single one of these topics. If you like my video, go down, smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content about this. And everyone, have a great day. See ya.